giúp CEO nâng cao hệ thống quản trị tài chính toàn diện. 12 năm đồng hành tư
Are you looking for an internationally recognized TESOL certification in order to work abroad, start a new career, or further your career? Then TESOL Coach Master Inc. is the answer. At TESOL Coach Master, we provide advanced, quick, friendly, and affordable TESOL course, which is legal to find your ESL/EFL or other English teaching job anywhere in the world. TESOL Coach Master is awarded by different organizations, such as the 2019 World Class Philippines Award in the field of education, Online TESOL Certification, 2018 to 2019 Global Awards for Marketing and Business Excellence as Best Online TESOL Certification Provider, and the recent National Customer's Choice Annual Awards 2020 as the Most Outstanding Online TESOL Certification Provider. For more information, visit our website www.tesolcoachmaster.com.
Everyone, I'm Cara Ardeza Q. Comadas from the Philippines. Taking the TESOL course online was a challenge for me. It became a tool to expand my horizons about teaching English. It also enhanced my capabilities as a teacher and helped me grow professionally, opening more employment opportunities for me. The training paved the way for me to become a qualified ESL teacher. What I liked about the course offered by TESOL Coach Master was that we had our own learning pace. We were given reliable resources and were guided throughout the course. Okay, if you're planning to take a big and exciting leap in your career, I invite you all to take the TESOL course under TESOL Coach Master. Thank you.
New techniques, new learning, new strategies. A night of chit-chats, games, and prizes. With more than 3,000 views every episode, 10,000 plus people reached, and 2,000 plus interaction. Welcome to another episode of ELT Talks. This time, we will talk about new ways and technologies on English language teaching in this new normal. With our resource speakers, Dr. Maria Cecilia M. Genove and Dr. Dave E. Marcial. ELT Talks goes beyond new normal. Here's your host for tonight, the president of TESOL Coach Master Incorporated, Mr. Nico James Alagasi Bantayanon.
Good evening. I know, again, everyone is excited for this episode. This is our third episode, and this is ELT Talks, New Hype, New Normal from TESOL Coach Master Incorporated. Before going into the main thing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say hello to Miss J. Ward Katipan. Thank you so much for your unending support for TESOL Coach Master Incorporated. And again, tonight, I know you can see my smile, my beautiful smile, because of you, we've got this award. And we would like to say thank you so much for your votes during the 2020 Go Abroad Innovation Award. And we were able to grab the award, the People's Choice Award. We didn't expect this, but then you made this to happen. Again, thank you so much. And again, as usual, we received a lot of good feedback from our participants during the first and the second episode. And as we promised, we will continue to conduct this webinar, and that will be every second, or we will be having this twice in a month. And again, I would like also to say hi to Miss Elma in Darwin. And then I would like also to say hello to Dr. Lossi in Cambodia. Again, as usual, again, we will be entertained with a song number from our very own, a Filipino who won the grand champion during the 2016 Vietnam Idol. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Janice Fong.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to ELT Talk Beyond Borders. And please don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like the page of the TESOL Coach Master. Yes. So at this time, I would love to dedicate this song to everybody who's watching right now, and I hope you like it, guys. This is a song from Miley Cyrus for everyone, and please sing together with me. I know that you know this song, so take it away. Yee. Hey, chubby. I can almost see it, the dream I'm dreaming. There's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach me. Every step I'm taking, every one way feels lost in all direction. My faith is shaking. You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting the other side. It's the cloud. The struggles I'm facing, the chances I'm taking, sometimes when knock me down, but no, I'm not breaking. I may not know it, but these are the moments that I'm going to remember most. You just gotta keep going. And time, they gotta be strong. Just keep pushing on, guys. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast they get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the cloud. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be enough for battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other It's all about the climb. Keep the faith, keep your faith in the climb. Thank you. All right, so this next song that I'm going to sing, I would love to dedicate once again to everybody, especially right now that we are facing this coronavirus thing. And I hope that um, everyone will stay strong and always pray to God that we can do it together and He will heal our land soon. So this song is called Oceans, and I hope you like it. You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown. My feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my voice above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Your feet may fail and fear surrounds me. You've never failed, and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my voice above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, you are mine. Spirit, you are my trust, is without borders. When we walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me, take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made strong in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders, and you walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander,
your name and keep my voice above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours. You are mine.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Janice Fong. Miss Janice Fong actually is performing live here in Hanoi, Vietnam, and she's having her gig tonight. And I hope you will be with her here in Hanoi as she will be having the concert in the next few weeks. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. This is ELT Talks New Hype. Tonight, we have invited two important personalities as they are going to share with us their expertise with regards to their own profession, and that they will be sharing and talking all about it tonight with the topic on the new hype, new normal, embracing cutting edge.
Are you looking for an internationally recognized TESOL certification in order to work abroad, start a new career, or further your career? Then TESOL Coach Master Inc. is the answer. At TESOL Coach Master, we provide advanced, quick, friendly, and affordable TESOL course, which is legal to find your ESL/EFL or other English teaching job anywhere in the world. TESOL Coach Master is awarded by different organizations such as the 2019 World Class Philippines Award in the field of education, Online TESOL Certification, 2018 to 2019 Global Awards for Marketing and Business Excellence as Best Online TESOL Certification Provider, and the recent National Customer's Choice Annual Awards 2020 as the Most Outstanding Online TESOL Certification Provider. For more information, visit our website www.tesolcoachmaster.com.
All right, so this is a new normal. And again, for those who have voted us during the Go Abroad Innovation Award 2020, thank you again so much. We won the People's Choice Award this year. And again, as what I have told you, we have invited two important personalities in or from the Philippines, and they will be sharing with us. One will be talking about the new hype, new normal, embracing cutting edge communication. And the other speaker will be talking about pedagogical models and tools in technology assisted teaching and learning. So at this time, I would like to call our two guest speakers. Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Dave, and good evening, Dr. Cecilia Genove.
Good evening.
Mhm. live here in Hanoi, Vietnam, and you both are live in the
The
Philippines.
Philippines.
And this is what we call an opportunity. An opportunity during the new normal. Who would have thought that we can be meeting with each other through this platform, right? Okay, so
Exactly.
Correct.
before going into your presentation, I would like you both to say something. Can we start with Dr. Genove?
Yes, good evening, everyone, my friends and colleagues. This is truly such a welcome opportunity and a great privilege to be with you all.
All right. So, can we have Dr. Dave?
Hi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to all our viewers in Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you for watching us, and thank you, Sir Nick. And it's a great privilege to be with Dr. Cecil Hinove, and of course with Dr. Nico also here. Thank you for inviting me, and it's really an opportunity and a wonderful experience to share some humble experiences also in the teaching and learning with technology.
And I would like to remind everybody that we will only be entertaining 3 to 5 questions right after every presentation. And if you will be having additional questions, or you would like to suggest on something, or you would like to ask suggestions from our speakers, you may comment that during our open forum. Okay, so I guess we are all set for tonight. But again, I would like to say good evening to Miss Joy in Japan, Mr. Ruel, Mr. Chris Villanueva, Mr. Cyrus in Ho Chi Minh City, Mr. Jeff Allen Tuazon, and for those who are with us tonight, thank you so much. And we will start the presentation in a few minutes. Okay, not a few minutes, but a few seconds. Dr. Hinove will start first, and it's time for me to introduce our speakers for tonight's webinar. True to her love and penchant for the written and spoken word since her childhood days, she took up journalism at Silliman University, Dumaguete City, graduating cum laude, and later pursued Master of Arts and Doctor of Education from the same university. She is a much sought after public speaker, resource person, communications consultant, and host or anchor of many events. Today, on top of her being a regular columnist in 2 community newspapers, one of which is the Visayan Daily Star, based in Bacolod City, pioneer editor-in-chief and editorial consultant of Island News, and host of 2 weekly talk shows on local cable television, she is director of the Instructional Media and Technology Center of Silliman University after having served as Dean of the College of Mass Communication of Silliman University for 6 years. She is a full-time licensed professional teacher with the rank of assistant professor, a researcher, author of the textbook Feature Writing for Filipinos, and co-author of the speech textbook Communication in the Changing Times. Among the organizations she has served, she has been Vice President for Media Relations of the Tourism Educators Council of Negros Oriental and Siquijor, the Technos, and is the current Vice President for Negros Oriental and Siquijor of the Philippine Association for Graduate Education, the PAGE Region 7. She is a candidate for her second doctorate degree from Silliman University, the PhD in social science. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our first guest speaker, Dr. Maria Cecilia Genove.
Thank you very much, Nick. And as I mentioned earlier, this is truly such a pleasant opportunity, a privilege, as well as my honor to join you in my first ever webinar. Can you imagine that? And it is the TESOL Coach Master Incorporated that has sponsored it or that has spearheaded it. By the way, may I congratulate you first and foremost for your achievement in getting the People's Choice Award. This is truly such an outstanding feat for TESOL Coach Master. I am addressing you, my friends and colleagues in the profession, with ambivalent emotions. I think I have to tell myself, should I prepare more intensely because I am participating in a webinar? Or should I just let my hair down and just feel relaxed? Because after all, not many people or not anyone, no one would be able to see me. Like, for example, I am now seated from where I am. But would you know if I am tall, or would you know if I am, well, I am challenged perhaps in terms of the height of of an individual? But this is a time, as we have said, of embracing what we now call as the new normal. And as the title of our ELT Talks would suggest, it is the new hype, and this is the new normal, and we simply just have to embrace it and like it. So for tonight's presentation, and this is the first one in a series of two presentations for tonight, let us first understand why we need to study communication itself and the roles that communication plays in our individual lives. What are the roles that communication plays, especially for those of us who are now embracing the so-called new normal? In fact, the new normal, as I'd like to call it from henceforth, is applicable to anyone: an office worker, a teacher, a journalist, a factory worker, even to parents who are staying at home, and most especially among students, perhaps, because this is the time when they would be waking up in the morning and say, no, I don't need to rush back to school, or I don't need to rush to school for my first period in class, but I need to stay home because everyone, or perhaps most of us, will now be doing online distance learning. But what does communication do to our lives? And these are the things that we have to remember first and foremost before we plunge into the so-called new normal. What does communication do to us? First, we need communication to understand ourselves as social beings. Perhaps you would say, is it necessary for us to go into communication, especially now that this is the new normal? Why don't we just talk to each other on the phone? Or perhaps why don't we just talk to each other via Zoom, or maybe through Messenger, which we are all familiar with? But as members of society, our primary aim for communicating with others is to promote understanding, which in turn allows us to create relationships with other individuals. And it is by getting to know others that we are able to build relationships. And I think that's one of the more challenging tasks that any human being would be able to undertake, to build relationships with other human beings. Because after all, relationships are built through communication. How else can I build a relationship except by communicating with individuals and other human beings? I can probably communicate non-verbally, and of course, I can communicate verbally, and I can communicate as well through time. Earlier, before I went into preparation for this webinar, I was messaging some of my classmates back in grade school. Imagine that. I will not mention how long it has been, but we were in touch through Messenger, a very common platform today. And we were so happy that we were able to be in touch with each other even after so many years. We don't even recognize how each one looks, but after all, the fact that we were able to communicate, especially during these trying times, is already such a welcome development. So we are able to communicate through time, even with people who we have not seen for a long time. So it is a must for us to deal with others in order to survive. Now, the word survival perhaps is commonplace, especially now that we are in this so called pandemic. How are we able to survive these trying times if we do not communicate with one another? I think we will be out of wits, especially if we are not able to talk to one another or perhaps see our friends or even our relatives for that matter. So, how do we do that? Especially that we cannot be face to face with each other, especially that we cannot be personal in our human touch with each other. And this is now where the so called new normal comes in. Now, through constant communication, this is how we are able to strengthen our relationships. In fact, there is a saying that goes this way: even if friends do not see each other or do not communicate with each other every day, so long as they are able to keep the communication lines open, then it is perfectly fine. So these relationships we have with people around us are truly very important. However, communication may also function contrary or perhaps in the opposite side instead of what we intend it to be, because it is also a means to sever or to cut ties with people around us. What does this mean? If there is a failure to communicate effectively with other people, then for sure we are able to sever ties or to cut ties with them. But I don't think we would like that. We don't want to do that. In fact, if I may make an example, in social media today, how many relationships among friends have actually been severed or actually have been affected, even among family members, because they may differ in their political affiliations or perhaps they may differ in their political views. But that is truly a very sad reality. Even if we may not share the same political affiliations or we do not share the same ideas, I think relationships should still be built. And another reason why we should study communication, in fact, more so at this time of the pandemic, is to understand ourselves as individuals or as human beings or as a person. Because it is in communication that we get to know ourselves better by looking into our inner selves. Now, how do we call this type of communication? We call this as introspective communication, meaning we look deeper into who we are or we look deeper into what we have become as individuals. Again, let us take a look at this pandemic as an example. Have you examined yourself or yourselves, especially at this time when some of us have been on a lockdown maybe for 3 or 4 months? Have you taken time to go introspective? Have you taken time to also establish where you are now as far as your weaknesses are concerned, your strengths perhaps, or your relationships with your family members or even with your friends? Whatever attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs we hold about ourselves affect communication. Imagine that. Attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs of an individual actually affect communication itself and how we regard ourselves as human beings. For example, if you hold yourself in the highest esteem, if your self esteem is very high, I think it is also best that you are able to relate well with others because you love yourself first. You hold yourself in the highest esteem. Thus, your positive attitude would radiate well to people who you are getting in touch with. So, how does this help us to understand ourselves? How does introspective communication help us to understand ourselves? This is where there is a need to recognize that communication does not occur merely between two or more persons. In fact, we can communicate, as mentioned, within ourselves. We can go introspective, and this allows us to see the real us. It allows me to see the real me. It also allows us to weigh whatever decisions we have to make, to assess or to reassess or to evaluate or even to reinvent the actions that we have made in every circumstance where we are in. And thus, by doing so, it can also improve how we perceive ourselves as individuals or as persons, which consequently will also lead us to appreciate ourselves as unique individuals. I think in this pandemic, again, we cannot help it but always look at this pandemic as an example. We are all unique individuals. We have a diversity of talents. And thus, while you were locked down, for example, or while you were working from home in whatever profession you may be in, have you told yourself that I have some untapped talents that I may not even have noticed at all? But because I am now alone with myself, I am communing with myself, I have discovered that I have a diversity of talents, otherwise untapped and otherwise perhaps undiscovered. But because of this pandemic, I am able to discover it. And I think if I am going to take this as a personal reference, it will take another webinar perhaps to tell you what I have discovered about myself in this pandemic. And then the third reason why we need to study communication more so at this time, because I'd like to refer to our times now as the so-called VUCA world. I think many among our colleagues would be able to appreciate what we call as the VUCA world, the so-called volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world where we are in. Can you imagine? This was coined back in 1987, a good 33 years ago. But look at us now. This is what we are experiencing today. And to think that this was coined back in 1987 by the US Army as a result of the end of the Cold War. But this is the world that we are in today. Not only the new normal, but a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And that is where we are now at this moment. And then another reason why we should study communication is let us not forget that even in these trying times, we still need to work. We still need to undertake some professional endeavors. We still need to teach. For example, if you're in the teaching profession, life goes on. Thus, communication would help us gain professional competence. And communication does not only help us in understanding ourselves as social beings, but it also serves other practical uses. Today, I think employers would still be looking for employees or workers who have not only very good communication skills, but excellent communication skills, both in the written word as well as in the spoken word. And for TESOL Coach Master, this is what you are supposed to let our students master, in fact. No? So we need to have competent individuals, not only very good communicators, but excellent communicators. Thus, one cannot deny that the ability to communicate not only well, but really excellently is a must in the workplace. And that is what our employers are looking out for. So if you have great, excellent, very good, no? Or perhaps excellent, I should say that, communication skills, then you are worthy to get the job that you are aspiring for. And perhaps be able to express your opinions or assert yourself from your point of view in a particular issue. So, thus, a prospective employee discloses much about who he or she is through the way he or she communicates. I wonder if you believe in the saying that first impressions actually last. The moment you meet a person, the moment the person talks to you or converses with you, then you are able to glean from how he communicates with you as to who he or she is, or the real person that this person is. So the employer, the future employer, would be looking out for someone who speaks sincerely as well as effectively. So it also helps one to get a promotion perhaps in the job that you are in now, because after all, we all have ambitions, we all have aspirations. Thus, if you are able to sell yourself or package yourself in an excellent manner, then for sure you will get the promotion that you deserve, even during these trying times. And perhaps the last aspect by which communication is truly important in whatever circumstance we may be in is for us to preserve our cultural values, whatever race you belong to, whatever beliefs you may have, perceptions about yourselves. All of us have also embraced cultural values, and we have known them even from way back. And what do we do with these cultural values? Do we discard them because this is now the pandemic? No, of course not. We need to preserve these cultural values because they establish our identity as a nation, as an individual, and as a human being. So generations have actually passed. This is now the 21st century. We are now in the middle of the year 2020. But even with this, our cultural heritage that our forefathers have handed down to us from the ancient period up to the present era are still preserved by us and acknowledged. And I think this is where our colleagues in the teaching profession, our teachers, our mentors, they would come in handy, especially in letting our learners and our young students appreciate the cultural values that we have as a nation. And in whatever nationality or whatever country you may be in, this is how we are able to appreciate our cultural values through human communication, particularly perhaps not only through written communication, but through word of mouth, especially when writing was not yet invented during those time, but these practices and beliefs from the past are still being recognized and still discernible even at present. Thus, it is our culture that identifies us as a people, and it is in the preservation of this culture that it is made possible for us to assert our identity as a nation. So those are at least some of the reasons, the primordial reasons why even in this so-called pandemic, even in this so-called VUCA world, we still need to study communication in whatever form, nonverbal or even verbal for that matter. This brings us now to the types of communication. Perhaps we will tell ourselves, are there various ways by which we can communicate? Certainly, not only through verbal and nonverbal communication, but through these following types of communication. One, I had already actually mentioned. This is intrapersonal communication, or what we call as introspective communication, or looking deeper into ourselves or into our own persons. I think for some of our friends who are watching us now, who may be in the field of psychology or even in teaching or even in philosophy, may be familiar with this. It's actually a favorite model of mine. It's my favorite model, especially if I'd like to go deeper into assessing or dissecting who I am as a person. And this is not to say that even after you may have gone through this particular model, then you stop. Or perhaps in a particular time, you don't study this model anymore. No, I beg to disagree. You can even go back to this model even after so many years, or even go back to it. Then maybe you can forget about what you had assessed yourself with, and then restudy yourself or reinvent yourself by using what we call as the Joe Harry window model. Imagine that this was proposed by us or proposed to us by two psychologists. They are Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham. And that is how we were able to get the name Joe Harry. It stands for the first syllable of their first name. So Joseph, that would be Joe, and then Harrington, that would be Harry. Thus, we are able to coin the model as the Joe Harry window. And why window for that matter? Because there are actually four quadrants of our cells. And by the way, Joseph Luft died at the age of 98, only quite recently, some 6 years ago in 2014. And Harrington Ingham died or passed on at the age of 76 or 77 in 1995. So there are four areas, as the Joe Harry window model stipulates, four areas of ourselves. Imagine, no? There is your open area, and all of us have this. Not only me, not only you, those who are watching us, but everyone in particular. So there is my open area or your own open area. There is your blind area. There is your hidden area, and there is your unknown area. So our open area is known to me, known to yourself, and known to other people as well. This is what we call as our public self. Many people know many things about us, and we are not squeamish or we are not afraid to divulge it to other people because this is my public self. This is my open area. So this is for everyone to look into, even if we may not be celebrities or even if we may not be entertainment personalities and not many people know us, but we also have our own public self. So our name, our profession, perhaps our family members, my telephone number, or where I live. This is part of our open area. And then there is what we call as our blind area. This is not known to me, this is not known to you, but it is known to other people. I wonder if you may be scared of your blind area. I am scared of my blind area because I don't know it. I am not aware of it. But how come other people know about it? It's quite scary, right? So, what are some examples of my blind area? If it's blind, then perhaps I should not tell you at all, no? If it is blind, then perhaps I don't know it. But some people probably would tell you, hey, you have a tendency to crack jokes that are sometimes perhaps below the belt. Or, hey, you have a tendency to crack jokes that may be quite uncomfortable to other people. But you, as the person, may not really be aware of it. Perhaps to you, it was just a plain, simple joke or just something to laugh about, but other people may not perceive it that way. Thus, that is my blind area. I am not aware of it. I don't know that I may have hurt other people, but I just go on with it because I don't know about it, but other people know about my blind area. So that is how people perceive us through our blind area. Then we have our hidden area. My hidden area is known to me. So we're quite comfortable with that. We're not scared of our hidden area because that is my own business. It's my own personal business because that is known to me. That's my hidden area. And I am not ready to share it with other people because it is not known to other people. So, what are some of our hidden areas? Well, sometimes, perhaps, or at times, we may have fantasies or we have secrets. Isn't it that we don't want to share our secrets even to our closest friend or even to our family members? Because that is part of our hidden area. And in fact, in order for us to love ourselves as individuals, we should keep a little of our hidden area. In fact, people may say, isn't it that when you get married or when you have a spouse, you don't keep secrets from each other? But I think it is also healthy and exciting, perhaps, to have something about yourself that may be hidden, not really the dark secrets that some of us may probably be thinking about, but something that is part of my private self that I am not ready to divulge to other people. And in fact, I think that is also what makes individuals really unique. That's what makes individuals also interesting, because they have a hidden area, and that is part of their so-called private self. So that's my hidden area. Then for our unknown area is something that we do not know. I don't know my unknown area, certainly. And of course, it is not known to other people. Thus, are we comfortable with our unknown area? Well, perhaps the word is not comfortable, but perhaps uh, we are wary about what our unknown area is by the term itself, because it is not known. So we are wary about it. We're trying to be cautious about it because we do not know what may happen. And again, looking at this pandemic as an example, this is the best example of our unknown area, everyone's unknown area. What will happen? Maybe by next year, will we be able to travel? By next year, will you be able to go to the places that you have actually scheduled for a vacation? For those among our audience who may be watching us now who are students or who are expected to graduate by next year, and to think that in the Philippines, the opening of classes, especially if you are following the old calendar, has been moved. The opening has been moved to August. Thus, those who are expected to graduate by the first semester, which would have ended in October, would then graduate by January. So there is a delay of a few months. So what will happen? These are all very unknown. Thus, this is also part of our VUCA world: uncertain, unknown, trying times, baffling times. We cannot even understand what is happening. So these are our four areas. It would be good to examine, re-examine, assess, reassess ourselves as we go along. Perhaps at this juncture, we can look at ourselves through the Johari window. And then maybe after the pandemic is over, God willing, of course, then we can look at our Johari window again to see if our perspectives have changed, to see if the areas that we possess have also been re-evaluated, or perhaps they may have transferred from one area to another. For all you know, maybe my blind area has now become my hidden area. Maybe my unknown area has now become my open area. The possibilities are actually limitless. So intrapersonal communication is one type of communication. Then another type of communication is um, interpersonal communication. That would be the second type of communication, interpersonal communication. Perhaps one of the industries that is badly hit by this pandemic is the live events industry, where I also belong, because as mentioned in my introduction, I also do hosting or anchoring jobs. And the live events industry is a conglomerate. It is an expansive industry. It involves many individuals. It involves events organizers or events managers. It involves caterers or restaurateurs. It involves stylists. It involves makeup artists. It also involves couturiers, those who do your gowns and so on. It involves those who style a particular venue. The florists, for example, many individuals who depend on the live events industry for their profession or for their occupation. And it involves interpersonal communication. Interpersonal would be speaking or engaging two or more individuals. But with this pandemic, I don't think we will be able to face one another in a long time. I don't think we would be able to engage in what we call as dyadic or face-to-face interaction, meaning face-to-face interaction between two or more individuals. And if we engage in interpersonal communication, it provides a great deal of feedback. And this is one way by which we can interact with one another because we are undergoing dyadic or face-to-face communication. And we also have small group communication where each participant speaks out to come up with a consensus. A small group communication, I think, is now being allowed in certain general community quarantine or modified general community quarantine areas. Small group communication would involve 25 or more persons. And this could be intimate to a more formal form of communication. So interpersonal, again, it can involve two persons or more persons or a small group communication where 25 or more persons are allowed. Thus, this is what we call as an intimate to a more formal type of communication. Then there is, yes, public communication. Public communication is where this is like what we are doing now. Public communication. There is an enlarged form of individuals. I wonder how many are watching us now, but there are many. And there is a resource person like myself and Dr. Marcial addressing a specific audience. However, even if feedback will be allowed later on, feedback is still quite limited in public communication. Today, like this webinar, for example, there are now a number of webinars that have been spearheaded by certain organizations. But webinars, even before this pandemic, have been mounted some 15 or 16 years ago. I remember some students who are now in well-placed occupations or jobs abroad have requested for webinars. And that was about 15, 16, or 17 years ago, certainly long before this pandemic has occurred. But now we see the felt need, or we feel the need for having webinars from time to time. So from public communication, we go to mass communication, the field that is closest to my heart because I am an active media practitioner. I am a practicing journalist. So compared to public communication, mass communication has more highly structured messages. And you have seen this. You have watched television talk shows. You have watched news and public affairs on television. You have also read newspapers. And today, many of our newspapers, metropolitan dailies, even community newspapers, even our regional newspapers, they also have online edition. So this is where highly structured messages come in. So they are able, mass communication or mass media are able to reach to a large number of audiences at the same time, no? At the same time through a number of electronic devices. So we have newspapers, as mentioned, we have magazines, but although there is no direct feedback, unless of course you phone in your question to a television host or you send a letter to the editor, the feedback is not exactly immediate because there is no direct contact between the source of the message as well as the audience, especially today in this pandemic where live audiences are not permitted or are not allowed. Even our live shows on television, although they are live, but the audiences are not live at all. They are in their respective homes and doing what we're doing now, like a webinar. So that's mass media. And today, mass media can also be equated to social media, which is one of the foremost ways by which people can communicate really in a fast manner. Then, last but not least, in the types of communication is what we are doing now. What many of our schools, what many of our industries, our corporations are undergoing. And this is what we call as the technology mediated communication. So like this webinar, for example, this is technology mediated, but we are able to communicate with one another, even if there may be some constraints, even if there may be some limitations, but we try our very best to be able to communicate with all of you. So this is another interesting field of human communication because this is now state of the art, and I think this will go on maybe for the next 5 or even more years to come, including the academe or including our higher education institutions. But with technology mediated communication, we actually started in a simple way of communicating. Like, for example, many of us are familiar with emails. We do emails practically every day. And like for many among our colleagues, for example, perhaps they can do an email through their smartphones or perhaps through their wristwatches, for example, especially if it is capable of replying to emails. Of course, we can still do texting today. Texting is still very much prevalent, especially in areas where signals or the connectivity may be challenged or hampered in some ways. We can still do texting. We can do IM or instant messaging. We can do Messenger on Facebook. I think that's one of the greatest inventions ever. Messenger on Facebook, social networking. Of course, there are tweets. Even the president of the United States, President Donald Trump, tweets. There are blogs. There are video conferencing. There are Zoom meetings and so on. All of these actually are technology mediated. In fact, if I may share a bit of a personal reference, just last night after something that I was also doing at home, I went into a Zoom meeting. I'd like to call it a Zooming with my students from 2005, 2006. They graduated in 2005, 2006, but they requested for a Zoom meeting because of the need to interact, because of the need to communicate with their classmates, with their teachers, with their associates for that matter. Thus, we were able to interact with one another even through technology mediated communication. So, with this type of communication today, and this is the advent of ICT or information and communication technology, this has truly changed the world very swiftly, making everything that we need almost within our reach or simply just within our reach, including keeping track of our businesses, keeping track with others, in fact, even with family members, keeping track with friends who we have not seen in a long time, so long as the process of communication is kept going. So, those are the types of communication. There are around 5 of them, but all of these we are able to do even in these times of new normal. And this is, I'd like to refer to it as cutting edge communication in whatever endeavor you may be in whatever circumstance you may be in. New normal, back to normal, whatever it may be, embracing the normal, new normal, whatever it may be, the need to communicate is still there. Thus, to conclude this presentation, I think in whatever era or generation we are in, communication is here to stay. So long as there are people who are able to interact, so long as there are people who have their hearts, their minds, and their souls, of course, intact, then communication is here to stay in whatever type of circumstances we are in whatever type of setting or society we may be in, because it is part and parcel of each one of us. And I'd like to close by quoting a renowned Jesuit priest. His name is Father Miles O'Brien, and he is also into the field of communication. And he said something like this. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. He said that actually communication is only 10% ability. Imagine that. Communication is only 10% ability, but 90% of the way you communicate, the manner by which you interact with people, the manner by which you regard people, and also the way by which you perceive yourself as an individual. 90% of it goes to trust as well as your own credibility. And in addition, because I don't know why I have priests as my resource persons for today. It's not exactly consequential, but I was able to listen to the homily of Bishop Julito Cortez, the bishop of the Diocese of Dumaguete City in the Philippines, who said in his homily just this morning, he said that we need to live simply that others may simply live. So with that, I'd like to wish you well from the bottom of my heart, but I think we will still see each other during the open forum. I'd like to end my presentation with this message: Godspeed to everyone, and yes, let's embrace the new normal, what we call as cutting edge communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria Cecilia Genove. It's good to see you again after, I think, more than 2 decades, Dr.
Wow.
Genove,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Nico was my former student, one of the more dependable and hardworking students that I have.
All right. Yes. And it's good to meet again, Juhari. And
Yeah.
I agree to you that I am also scared of my blind area. And as much as
Yeah.
possible, I have to keep that, that area. But, taking into consideration the situation that we have right now, we need to embrace that so-called cutting edge communication. And I was stuck with this message of yours when you said that attitude and beliefs really,
Yeah.
affects communication, and that's really true. And I am
Right. That's true.
one of those, probably one of the many who is rather this practicing this in deeper, approach. And anyway, let us have some comments or questions, suggestions from our viewers, from our participants. As of the moment, we already have reached 100 viewers from our Facebook and YouTube channels. All right.
Thank
So,
you. Great.
okay. Now, can we have a question, or if our audience would like to ask some suggestions from our speaker? Now, we have this from Mr. Ruel Maranan Alcazar. If I am not wrong, Mr. Ruel is a mass communication graduate from Foundation University, and
Oh, great.
he recently finished our TESOL 150 course certificate under TESOL Coach
Mm.
Master Incorporated. So, according to Ruel, we can't ask for more information. Everything is being discussed in a manner everyone can perceive easily. Thank you so much for this informative presentation, Doc Genove. I can definitely use this for my future profession. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for that very
Roel.
positive comment, Mr. Ruel. Now, we also have from Mr. Brel Didanes
Right.
Millares from Mindanao. I believe that communication is very important. To preserve our own language is more significant. For instance, I encountered some students who couldn't understand Filipino language and they prefer to speak in English because nowadays parents use English language to their children as a medium of communication at home. Do you think that Filipino language should come first before learning English language as a medium of communication at home?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Braille is, should I answer the question now, Nick? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Braille is, I suppose he is Filipino. His name is very Filipino. I suppose.
Yes, ma'am.
Braille is
Yes.
Filipino? Yes. 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 Filipino, of course, is an essential tool by which we are able to communicate, especially if we are at home. Today, if I'm not mistaken, many among our children speak Filipino at home. And then when they go to basic education, there is what we call as mother tongue based multilingual education in the Philippines. So our students or our pupils are able to use Filipino as a medium of communication until grade 2 or grade 3. And then onwards, starting in grade 4, onwards, they learn English. I think it should really be, I agree, it should be a good combination. I don't think as a Filipino, I don't think you will be proud of yourself if you say, no, I cannot understand Filipino. I would rather speak in English. No, you should not. You should not do that or you should not say that. You have to be proficient, of course, in your own native language and be proficient as well or even more proficient in English. The reason is English is the so-called lingua franca or the so-called universal language. So if you are a Filipino or any nationality or citizenship for that matter, English is also a very good medium for you to master, and other languages for that matter.
Yes, thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Bell, for the question.
Yeah, we will be having another question. Communication, as we know, is crucial, and as mentioned, it is not what you say, but how you say it. What advice can you give in sending email, text messages that are commonly misinterpreted because it is devoid of emotion to prevent miscommunication?
Yes. Thank you. This is Haley. No? I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Haley, Miss Haley Monderin. I certainly agree. Texting is one invention that I also love. Even before email, even before Messenger, there is the text. And I have to say that I am a very active text user and also a very active Messenger user. But I certainly agree. There are relationships that may have been affected or even severed because of the way your text messages have been formulated or your text messages have been written. I certainly agree. So, how do you do that, or how do you avoid letting your relationships be affected because of a text message that was not communicated very well? I think this is what you should do, Haley. If your friend or the person whom you are sending the text message to may ask you, is it what you meant? Or is this exactly what you mean? Or something like that, then you have to say it outright. You can say, yes, you are correct. That is exactly what I meant. However, this is coming from the person whom you have sent the text message to. From your part or from your end, Miss Haley, maybe you can say, did I make myself clear with my message? Is it clear to you? But of course, you have to also phrase it or formulate it in a good manner or in a favorable manner. The problem with text messaging is, again, in the way you interpret it, because after all, if you say it orally, I wonder, many among our friends out there may have experienced this. The text message was perfectly fine. The text message was, in fact, very well formulated. But the way you read it, the inflection of your voice, the pitch of your voice, the expression of your voice, that is what exactly matters. So perhaps when you receive a text message, Miss Haley, and you think it is whatever, favorable or unfavorable, maybe when you read it, maybe you can make your voice a little a little fun, or perhaps you can make your voice lilting, or perhaps you can make your voice a little relaxed or chill, so that the message will come out really fine or favorable. I hope I answered your question, Miss Haley.
Yes, Doc, I think we should not put some emotion at first. Probably
Yeah.
we can have a follow-up question. Okay,
Yes,
answer
right.
through question. Did I understand it right? Like that?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
in some
that's right.
Yeah, in some other situations we tend to put emotion
Correct.
directly and then we react,
Yes.
directly. So I think um, a follow-up question
Yes,
or
right.
whatever can help that. Okay, we will be
Yeah.
entertaining one more question or comment. Okay, a question from Mr. Wayne Gabriel. Since we Filipinos are good teachers in Asia, how do you embed culture, concept, and philosophy in the context of pedagogical perspective in the new normal? How is this process be primordial
Primordial.
regardless of settings?
Okay. Thank you very much, Wayne. I think Wayne is a teacher and he's
Yeah.
teaching. Yes, Wayne is a teacher. He teaches perhaps in a country in Asia. And I certainly agree. Asians are some of the best teachers in the world. But Mr. Wayne, I don't think we can forego settings, especially in what we teach. In fact, we should still embed culture. Yes, that's right. In fact, you mentioned it. No? How do you embed culture? In fact, we should also contextualize. I have to say this. No, let's contextualize where we are. I don't know where Wayne is, but whatever his citizenship or nationality may be, you adapt, Mr. Wayne, to the country that you are serving, where you are serving as a teacher. And it would be good, no, to know the culture of that particular place, as you had mentioned, regardless of settings. But we cannot disregard settings for that matter, because we are in a particular place where you are there as a teacher and you are interacting with learners who come from various backgrounds. And I think that is one of the more challenging endeavors that you are in. So I'd like to say this again, no? To recap what I had said. Contextualize, Mr. Wayne, what you are going into. You are your Thailand. There he is. He answered my question. He is in Thailand, and Thailand is also a country that is very rich in culture, Mr. Wayne. But I think Wayne, if I'm not mistaken, is Filipino. I wonder, but it does not matter. So contextualize. If you are in Thailand, indeed, then study the culture, study the upbringing of your learners. Perhaps you can get to know them better so that you are able to appreciate where they are coming from and how you can also complement their attitudes, their perceptions, and their beliefs. Thank you, Mr. Wayne.
Thank you so much for that, Doc. And the key word there is contextualized.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's right.
All right. Thank you so much for that very comprehensive presentation, Dr. Hinove. Dr. Hinove will be with us after the second presentation, and she will be entertaining some of the questions, or if you would like to ask some suggestions from her, then she will be back during the open forum. All right. So again, I would like to say thank you to all of those more than 100 viewers right now. It's already 9 o'clock, okay, 9:20 in the Philippines and 8:20 here in some other countries of Asia, but still you are with us. Again, this is TESOL Coach Master Incorporated, ELT Talks, New Hype, New Normal. Okay, this COVID-19 pandemic has brought extraordinary disruption to all education landscape. And we are into that so-called emergency remote teaching for the educators and that so-called emergency remote learning for our learners. It's new to almost all of us, but then we cannot stay away from it, but instead to embrace, okay, that new normal thing. So at this time, I will be introducing our second speaker. So again, for those who are still, trying to be with us, we will be posting the link. Okay, we will be posting the link for you to fill out in order for you to get that digital copy of your certificate. And of course, that is for free. Okay, and again, TESOL Coach Master Incorporated will be celebrating its second anniversary, and we will be having series of activities from July 9 to July 11. And please feel free to visit us in our fan page and of course in our website, and that is www.tesolcoachmaster.com. Okay, now I know you are all willing to listen to our second speaker. And again, thank you to Mr. J. Miss J. Ward, for inviting all of your friends there in Japan to be with us for tonight's third episode for ELT Talks. Okay. All right. Our second speaker is an associate professor who held various positions in many leading professional organizations in the Philippines. He is a technical committee member for IT education of the Philippine Commission on Higher Education and the executive director of the Asian University Digital Resource Network. Recipient of the 2016 Most Productive Faculty Award of Silliman University and second place finalist of Philippine Digibayani Award for Digital Literacy. Among his research interests is e-learning and digital trust, where he has been the recipient of some research grants. A United Board Fellow and Director of the Silliman Online University Learning, Silliman University in Dumaguete City. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our speaker, Dr. Dave E. Marcial.
Hello, good evening, Sir Nick, and once again, good evening to all of you who are watching us here live, especially on Facebook and on YouTube. Um, while I was listening to Dr. Genove, I'm a little bit tense and what's this? And excited at the same time because uh, one of her presentation mentioned about technology mediated communication. It's in fact that's one of the reinvention and or the many aspects that ICT redefines or reinvent the so-called, especially in the so-called new normal. Once again, Sir Nick, thank you. And in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll be discussing focus more in the pedagogical models and tools in technology-assisted teaching and learning. And in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll be chopping my presentation into two, primarily on the pedagogic models and tools, because I know many of us or many of our televiewers may be bombarded also with so many webinars. So I would rather reserve my time for the Q&A so that I can share some of my experiences, my humble experiences in the technology-assisted teaching and learning. We know that the use of ICT in education is a unique opportunity for all of us teachers. We know also that it provides significant benefits to the teachers as well as learners and other stakeholders. The use of ICT in education is clearly and definitely and not a new rally for the protection and promotion of life, especially in this time of the new normal. And we know that ICT transforms pedagogy. And when it comes to the transformation of this pedagogy in the classroom and strategy in the classroom, it has several benefits that affects the teachers, the students, and all the stakeholders. Among the most popular framework and the well-studied framework in technology is the so-called TPAC. This is actually about pedagogy and technology, technological, pedagogical content knowledge. This is the framework that identifies the knowledge teachers need to teach effectively with technology. I will not talk into this because it may consume a lot of our time, but what this framework talks about, it explains to us bridging technology into three different and important aspects in teaching and learning, which are the pedagogy, the content, and knowledge. This framework emphasizes that the the three in this kind of new normal in teaching, technology should be able to relate and to be able to bridge the three without, of course, sacrificing the intended learning outcomes of the subject or the course matter. Um, in the next 10 minutes, I will talk about the emerging because there are so many pedagogic models as to technology mediated learning. What I will share with the rest or in the World Wide Web today or tonight are the models that may be helpful for us Filipinos. Especially in this new normal, especially in the so-called flexible learning or in the distance mode of education or blended learning. I will not focus into the mode of delivery because I feel that these models actually relevant or applicable in any mode of delivery. The first one is obviously the e-learning. There's a lot of nomenclature into this. You can refer to multimedia learning, technology enhanced learning, or what's e-learning all about? E-learning is the use of electronic communication, information and communication technology in the teaching and learning. Dr. Genove mentioned about the use of email, the use of texting. That's actually refers to e-learning also. But those is, e-learning is among the traditional, or shall I say, the Jurassic year into the technology mediated learning. What's the current and emerging pedagogic model is the so-called the massive open online courses. I think many of us are familiar also with or getting some certificate courses online, either free or paid. Among the many providers or popular providers into this is the Coursera and the Audacity. Why MOOCs or massive? Because you have a lot of classmates actually. Like in my case, I'd experienced having 13,000 classmates online taking a 3-week certificate courses that's actually delivered in one of the university in the US. Okay. The third one is the open course where or the OCW. This is where you can download free material. This is where you can download open educational resources, ranging from a PowerPoint or a slide presentation to quizzes to assignment and even answer keys, and it's all for free. Like the Commission Higher Education in the Philippines launched the open educational resources. It's actually similar to this model, OCW or the open courseware. Another model that you could also use or integrate into your classroom teaching is the gamification model or the digital game-based learning. This is where you are going to translate or you are going to find a way to gamify your content, to gamify your assessment, and even to gamify the delivery of your teaching and learning. Say, for example, I have an ongoing project. It's called the responsible use of social media instead of teaching the students the principle or the theoretical concepts of responsible use of media, what we did is we customized a mobile app and then made some checkpoints around the campus, specifically in the library, and the student has to find the QR code, and along the QR code, student has to give responses or to answer the questions until they will find the right answer. So that is actually an example. There are many ways to gamify our content. There are many tools also that we can gamify our content, our assessment, and our delivery. Another model that you may want also to consider is the so-called the flipped classroom, especially in a place like in the Philippines where internet connection is always a challenge. Um, the synchronous may not necessarily be advantage to many, but flipping the classroom in such a way that uh, it takes place. You invert, this is actually called inverted learning, in such a way that all resources are given to the students prior to the real time or the synchronous discussion. And flipping the classroom is basically changing the way or the cycle in providing the content and in the delivery up to the assessment process in the teaching and learning. Another pedagogic model that you may want also to incorporate in this new normal of teaching and learning is obviously the mobile learning. It is where you are going to integrate some mobile technologies, particularly, but there are three very important aspects in mobile learning. You have to consider how mobile your technology, you have to consider also how mobile your learners, and obviously the most important, equally important in this aspect is on how mobile your learning content. Say for example, do you allow students to learn during nighttime? Do you allow students to learn anytime? Do you allow yourself to respond anytime? Do you allow to teach asynchronously or synchronously? All those are the many guidelines or strategies in the mobile learning. And another model that you can also look into is the so-called the micro learning. Because again, because of internet connection, having a long learning unit or outcomes is not anymore more beneficial to many of us, because again, like for example, having a 2 hour or a three hours real time discussion, your internet bandwidth will go down at any time. So it is preferably or advisable to incorporate micro learning, where small learning units or short term learning activities are incorporated. You have to strategize your content in such a way that your text, your phrases, you develop it in short paragraph. Your image and your photos are not so heavy in terms of its file. Videos are developed short, say for example, a less than 3 minute, actually 5 minute video, and even your tests and quizzes and other forms of assessment. Having a 500 items may not necessarily be important or not any more significant this time, especially in when internet bandwidth is always a challenge to all of us. And as I'd mentioned, gamification also is one of the many strategies in the micro learning as part of your model to consider in technology mediated teaching and learning. Now let me proceed, since I presented already the model. Now the question is, what are the tools that you can consider? You don't need to screenshot perhaps my presentation, or if you will see some links, don't worry, I can share with you. You can go to my website and you can download a lot of tools that may be helpful, especially in this time of new normal in the teaching and learning. Now let me categorize the tools, because this will vary also our level of integration or shall I say, our level of skills in the use of this technology. Now, I divided it into three. One is the basic. Among these are, of course, the common hardware technologies. Say, for example, you should have your desktop. You should have your mobile phones, your mobile gadget. Dr. Hinove mentioned about your watch. You can have it also, but what is important there is you know what is recent in terms of specification, and what are compatible, or what is necessary, what are the minimum requirements as you deliver your teaching and learning. Of course, there is the office productivity tools for sure. Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, these are a powerful tool as a basic tool in technology mediated teaching and learning. There's a lot. Research shows that having a infographics way of teaching and learning, because I'd mentioned about micro learning. Micro learning is most applicable also if we use about infographics in presenting our content instead of a very textual form of presentation. And obviously, similar to what the backstage staff of Sir Nick, they are actually making multimedia. It's a very nice presentation because it's animated, and if it is animated, it can really get our attention rather than purely text on what we see in our screen. The second, which is actually in the middle, is the complex. Complex because it is a combination from the basic and the next level into this visualization. I'd mentioned this. There's a lot of tool online, free tools online that you can translate this text in and more visually appealing content among our students. Then game based, later on I'll show with you some of the tools that you can use as part of your gamification. Authoring, where students would want to publish materials online, or you may want also to organize your learning management or your classroom online, which is on the learning management system. And well, obviously you should be able to understand also online databases like the cloud, because this is where students could access your data or your content. And the third one is the pervasive. This refers to web designing. This is a little bit advanced, but this is where to go already. This is the new normal. We have to go forward. We have to understand. We have to embrace these pervasive tools, because especially if we are into an online distance learning, or the so-called the flexible learning, multimedia development, the publishing tools, collaboration tools, and the cloud technology. Now, talking about these tools, let me share with you common tools that you may be familiar with, or perhaps you can revisit and try to understand what's the use of this technology in our teaching and learning. The first stop is on the Internet of Things. We know that in education also, we can connect things. That is why it's called Internet of Things. Like from the enrollment, it's online, down to evaluation, to student assessment, and even understanding the learning behavior of the students. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. Every day things get connected because there is internet connection, or because data are connected to each other. um, Internet of Things is very powerful, especially in the decision making, because we can analyze data, we can analyze and design this data and format this according to what we would want to do. Say, for example, I am involved into a research, understanding the behavior of our learners, but instead of interviewing the students, instead of looking at or conducting a survey, what we did is actually look at the logs of the students in a learning management system and try to predict and try to understand the learning styles of the students. Again, these are taken from the data. There are so-called digital footprints and all of those stuff connected into one, process them, and to make it more meaningful to everyone. That's the first one. The second is you can also consider because of the cloud technology, like our Google, there's a or you can use Dropbox, you can use many free cloud technology. Cloud meaning the data are stored are stored online, and unlike before that we have to bring perhaps I think many of you or Dr. Hinove maybe learned about storage on the floppy disk, no? Like when I was in college, I started with the floppy disk, and then from floppy disk, it evolved to diskette to 1.44, and then the USB flash drive. And now you don't need to buy a USB flash drive because you can actually save your file on cloud. It is accessible at any time as long as you have obviously the internet connection. And we also have the so-called differentiated instruction and universal design for learning tools. We have technologies for physically challenged. Yours truly, I was trained actually to teach the visually impaired people. There are technology. I can teach the blind actually using the technology. It's so amazing that I'd experienced attending a class where all of us were totally blind and teaching them how to develop a website. And I know a friend who is working from home, and he is actually developing, or he is a web developer and a totally blind person who can do that. There are technologies that can do that also. So perhaps in this new normal, you can browse those kind of technology to be more inclusive in our teaching and learning. um, Dr. Hinove also mentioned about she mentioned about technology mediated communication. That's basically because of the so-called the Web 2.0. Web 2.0, this is the use of the social media. We have the blogs, we have YouTube, we have networking, marketing, and the website. Unlike before in the old technology, before Web 2.0, where when we develop perhaps a website, it's difficult for us to communicate to the people behind that website because it's static, meaning everything is coded. It's difficult to send messages. It's difficult to implement a network of friends online because of the old technology. Now with this Web 2.0 and even predicted to the so-called Web 3.0, where everything is in AI or everything is in chatbots or in robotics and some other artificial intelligence way of collecting data online. Among this tool that is also helpful among our students is the staying informed kind, where well, you can do some networking like our social media. We have the RSS feeds. If you notice, like if you want to subscribe like from an island news perhaps on online or a Philippine Daily Inquirer, if you like or if you click on their RSS, you will notice that you will receive also information from them on real time. These are notification way news feeds, of course, and the search engine optimization techniques, especially in the marketing. Or if you want your content to be more searchable online, there is a so-called technique where students or learners or other stakeholders in the learning community can easily find your material, your content, because there is a so-called SEO technique. And we also have these collaboration tools from the email down to your schedule, to your calendar, and even doing web conferences, video lecturing. where real time you can do your video, and then on real time you can record it and post it or upload it on the cloud. Instant messenger, all of these are connected, which reinvent, redesign the way how we collaborate people in real time. Say for example, like I am also actually a visiting professor in one of the university in abroad, and we do collaboration project in real time, no, even if we have different time zone. We can talk in real time, we can develop, we can write content or research article in real time because of the power of this collaboration tool. uh, well, communication tool, you know this for sure. There's a lot, unlike before where getting connected or even calling long distance is very expensive. Right now, with our messenger, with our chat, with Facebook, with other social media and other communication tools, it's so easy to communicate with friends, even especially this time of COVID-19. Maybe you would want also to go into the advanced. This is basically in the pervasive type of tool. In the assessment component, there are, if we if you are fond of making rubrics, which is actually expected to all of us in all type of our assessment, because they said we are into the outcomes based education or performance based education in the case of the Department of Education. You can go to rubrics maker. There are many rubrics maker available, but I am a fan of Rubistar. All you have to do is to actually go to their site, look for your subject matter and subject content, and then in just one click, you can find an easily available, editable, modifiable rubric where you can use immediately, and it is open, it is free, and you can also share and be part of this community. So it's called a rubrics maker. And in other forms of student assessment generators, you can try the online quiz, such as in Google Form. I'm also a fan user of Kahoot. I love Kahoot also, Hot Potatoes, where you can play with learners or students can play with the other opponent or other classmates, real time or offline, depending on your preference. And there's a lot. There's many. You can try a Mentimeter. You can try polling. You can try the real time and interactive whiteboarding and some other assessment generator. Because from face to face down to and going to the new normal, you it is actually expected that all of us, we have to modify our syllabus. Uh, we have to modify our syllabus because we know for the fact that our syllabus were written or were developed or formulated for a face-to-face or residential classes. And in this new normal, whether you are in a full online distance learning, in a blended or modular, you really have to revise your syllabus. And a tool that you could assist you can help you, especially in the higher education institution teachers. You can try this tool. It's amazing tool used in the University of Science and Technology in Hong Kong, where the tool can guide you in developing your syllabus, and where curriculum mapping is perfectly reviewed or matched. The other one that is helpful to all of us, if you have a hard time looking the right verb, perhaps the right word, or action verb in your objective, you can use this tool also. Although this is a foreign-based objective builder, but this is a good guide for all of us, especially in this time of the preparation phase for the new normal. You can also look at Pedagogy Wheel. It's really an amazing tool where the inner circle here, this refers actually to the Bloom's taxonomy, and the outer, the second layer, these are the action words. let's say for example, if you go for create, these are the available action words that you can use with the in delivering your content in technology mediated teaching and learning. While on the third layer of the pie, these are the activities that you can do in doing or in integrating technology in your teaching and learning. While the icons that you can see on the outer layer, these are the available icons that you can click and you can download. Some are free and some are not free, and some are there are free versions, or there are like an added feature, and then you just have to pay for a little amount. What's this tool all about? It will help you find a good tool for or a tool that is most appropriate and that can be applied in the kind of taxonomy, in the kind of objective that you are integrating into your teaching and learning, especially in your learning outcomes. You can also download. Sometime I had a project. We had a project with the Commission Higher Education. We developed a mobile class record. You can download this app. You can install it, where you can download. You can add your students. You can add tasks. You can add groups. You can check attendance. You can create courses also, the scoring, and even backup and emailing the student. This is offline, meaning you don't need an internet connection for you to be able to work with this tool. And what is good into this is there is a dictionary of education terms that you can view. I know there's a lot of dictionary available, but we made this for Filipinos. Okay. And among the most popular tool nowadays, especially in this time of pandemic, is the learning management system. I'm a Moodle fan also, where you can download and administer your own. There's a lot. There are many self-hosted. You can do self-hosted. You can subscribe, or you can purchase from the shelf, or you can purchase or put somewhere your learning management system, which is very most popular nowadays. You can use your classroom, you can use YouTube, you can create classroom channel via your YouTube. Like if you are fun into recording your videos, instead of having a real-time discussion, you record them to make it asynchronous. And instead of just putting it on Facebook, why not develop a YouTube channel for your class? Maybe soon or in the future you can monetize your channel. In relation to slide presentation, you can use the slide share. If you go into the blogging, there are many tools, freeware or free software, free online tools that you can use for your blogging. Blogging considered as the most effective way also to connect with your student. For sure, while I was discussing on the learning management system, or perhaps many of our viewers now are thinking about, well, we have a problem because of the internet connection. Not all of us, not all of our students have good internet connection. There are many modalities, and there are many tools also. Sometime also we had a project and we tried to customize a learning management system that can run in a portable learning environment. What does it mean? That your learning management, your virtual classroom can still run even without internet, and can be saved or can be downloaded, and just simply putting it in a USB flash drive. So we call that a learning management in sticks, no, where it is transferable. You can it's not an app. It's not a mobile app. It's really a file or a folder where you go inside and you can create your virtual learning management system in there. And there's a lot and many more, according to what is appropriate and what is mandated and what are the available resources, according to your needs or according to your institution or according to the demand of your syllabus or according to the demand of your teaching guide in the case of the Department of Education. In summary, technology enhanced teaching learning is multifaceted. It is really diverse. Diverse because it's either which area in the teaching and learning you are going to focus. Like if you want to focus on the communication, like what Dr. Genove was mentioning, you can attack into that. It's not a solution to all. Like what we advocate is just focus where you are more familiar, where you can establish expertise with. It is coupled with many theoretical and learning perspective and underpinnings. Uh, you have to understand. I presented many principles there. You have to consider whether are you going to incorporate micro learning, flip learning, flexible learning, mobile learning, you name it, or you do you want to incorporate all and create your own strategy that could vary also again depending on the philosophy of your institution or depending on the need or the requirement of your teaching and learning guide. Because it is multifaceted and diverse, you have to consider a lot, like which area you are going to focus on. Say for example, do you need technology in your professional development? Like what we are doing right now, we need this webinar because we are not allowed to do face to face. Even if we are in this new normal, we still need to develop ourselves, especially and to be equipped with the necessary tools and the necessary skills for this new normal of teaching and learning. Another area that you could also focus is to really understand on the policy goals in the integration of teaching and learning. Yesterday also I moderated a webinar, and one of the highlight during that webinar is on the policy, student discipline, the policy on the assessment, the policy on reprimanding students. How are we going to do that in this kind of new normal? In face to face, that's fine because for sure that's already established. But in this new normal of teaching and learning, what are we going to do? How are we going to call students and send to disciplinary committee if there are cyberbullying, if there are things that need to be settled, if we are into the online distance teaching and learning. And another that makes technology assisted teaching and learning diverse is if you are going to focus into the tools, because as I mentioned, these tools and concept may not necessarily be available if you are in may not be necessarily available in your area, or not necessarily accessible in your area, or not necessarily needed in your teaching and learning guides. Another area that you could also focus in, just focus on the pedagogical use into it. Just focus into the classroom, focus into the management and others. I was talking about classroom management and organization. Say, for example, um, because you are not familiar with the tools and concept, maybe you only focus into the how you manage your class, how you manage and how you organize your students. Like you just want to use the class record because you feel that you are more comfortable in communicating or in discussing with the students via forum or other forms of classroom management. And last but not the least, we have to consider also the use of technology in our social and ethical skill. I think you will agree, all of you will agree to me that the social and ethical skills should be embedded to all of these teacher professional development, policy goals, tools and concepts. They use classroom management, and I think this should be the heart of the skills in the technology assisted teaching and learning, because I know many of our learners may not necessarily well educated about the social and ethical skills, because although there is media and information literacy, but it may not be emphasized in a flexible type of teaching and learning. So in summary, um, technology is just a technology. It should be coupled with pedagogy and content, like the TPAC that I'd mentioned. And after all, our main intention is to create and to establish a student-centered teaching and learning. Student-centered in such a way that we should do our best as teacher. We have to embrace as teacher so that we could still provide the student-centered environment like what we delivered or what we developed during or prior to COVID. We have to make sure and put that into our mind also that in the flexible learning or in the technology mediated teaching and learning, student centeredness should be highlighted also. But sadly, because of preparedness, because not all teachers are prepared into the technology mediated teaching and learning, it's very teacher centered. Say, for example, you you only give perhaps an assignment all the time because for you or it would be easy for you to develop an assignment rather than doing the gamification or incorporating technology in your assessment. So in that case, it's not it focused you as a teacher because the your classroom management is dependent to your skill, which is very understandable because again of the nature or of the preparation that we are facing right now. Especially that the flexible learning or the technology mediated is very fast approaching to or new to many of the institutions or to our colleagues in the academy. Now, before I will end up this slide. There are actually three groups of teachers in the new normal. The first one are the digital natives. These are the people, these are the teachers rather, that were born when they grew up, they already have the phone, they already have Facebook perhaps, or the Friendster or the MySpace or the social networking in general. The second one is the digital immigrant, and many of our colleagues in the academe are into this group of teachers and trying hard and doing their best and embracing and loving the technology because they feel that there's there's no way out. There's no choice actually. There's no choice and there's no choice than because of the pandemic that has brought to all of us. The third one is I am hoping that during this pandemic, they are not anymore existing, and this is actually these are the digital fugitive. For sure, prior to COVID, there are many digital fugitives, and I feel that in this time, based on my observation, many of them are becoming digital immigrants because, as I mentioned, there is no choice. No, there is no choice. We cannot do we cannot go back yet to the normal and the way we teach prior to COVID. Technology enhanced teaching and learning is like the movie 50 Shades of Grey. For sure, many of you watch this because ICT or technology mediated teaching and learning, either you become the submissive or the dominant. So, friends, thank you very much for this time that you have shared with me, and I hope to have the Q&A and to give more intimate discussion with all of you. Thank you very much and good evening.
Wow, that was very comprehensive presentation on pedagogical models and tools in technology assisted teaching and learning. And should I sing, Where Do I Belong? So
Are
while
you
listening,
the submissive or the dominant, Dr. Nico?
or probably I belong to in between the digital immigrants and digital natives, but I am not a digital fugitive. So, no way. Okay. So Dr. Dave right now is ready to answer our questions, or if you need some suggestions from Dr. Dave. Can we have the first question? As stated by viewsonic.com/library, one of challenges of EdTech is the training and management of students and teachers. How will this help those studying in remote areas that are not equipped with digital technology? Has this been included by the DepEd and CHED in their educational programs, considering that this is abroad?
Thank you for that question, Wayne. In the past weeks, actually, I've been bombarded with this kind of question. Actually, in fairness with this institution, the DepEd and the Commission on Higher Education, they are not actually emphasizing on full digital technology. In fact, like in the case of the higher education, they are actually mentioning flexible learning. And when we talk about flexible learning, it doesn't mean only on the technology or the internet. There is a so-called actually correspondence type of education, the home study. We have the modular program, which is, I believe, true also in the Department of Education. Meaning there are menu of choices where the institutions can select to or from, whether full online, blended, but I think blended is not possible. But they are also doing the traditional distance learning where the use of radio communication technology.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Dave. Can we have the second question? The Digital Literacy and Global Standard IC3GS5 certification is being required already in other countries as a qualification to teach nowadays learners who are digital natives. Do you think that it will become required certification or desirable skills capability of teachers here in the Philippines? Wow. Thank you so
Wow.
much for that question, Miss Haley.
That's a very
Wondering.
nice question, Miss Haley. Actually, in this time of COVID, I think this it is really a requirement. In fact, I think you know or you read some news that teachers are going to the mountain because they need to attend webinars. They need to attend not necessarily because they need a certificate, they need the certification, but they feel that they need it as a skill for them to continue teaching and learning among their students. So it's basically more than just a certification this time. It's really like they feel that they need to be equipped in this new normal. They feel like this is my observation also because we have many colleagues not necessarily within our university but outside where they keep on communicating with me that sir, this is the time that I feel that I don't need a certificate. We need the material because we feel that we have to revisit all the time because this is the new normal nowadays. It's not anymore a matter of the piece of paper of the promotion, but really on the learning, on the skill that you would want to know because you feel that you have the responsibility to continue teaching among your students.
Wow. Okay. I like that idea. Like, it's not all about the certificate, but it's all about the learning and the skills that you will be getting out of the course. Okay, that's good. Okay. Can we have one last question before going into our open forum? Wow, from Mr. Wayne again. Media censorship is an stringent issue in technology, and we should admit this is a predictable activity that students may get involved with more than studying. How will digital technology be filtered so that students will not use maligned web references? And if not, how do we engage students with certain limits so that they can follow as patterned in the principle of Bloom's digital taxonomy?
Okay, thank you, Wayne. That's a very nice and very nice inquiry. Um, we know also that in the past 3 weeks there's a lot of webinars, and I noticed also based on my observation, this topic is not so emphasized, which is very understandable because many of the webinars talks about principles, the models, the practices. But I see, and I predicted that as we start the new normal, this topic we're gonna be the emphasis or the highlight. So what I'm trying to say, Wayne, is let's start from the basic. Basic meaning we should start with classroom policies. We should start like stating, like in a face-to-face, if we said during the first day that you should switch off your phone, we can actually do that in the digital or technology assisted teaching and learning. Say for example, putting a statement in your classroom that students may be allowed to screenshot my material but only for personal purposes. Students caught posting my material on social media may be subject to disciplinary measure. Things like those. We did an experiment into this when students are familiar or when students are aware about this policy. They are actually they are very careful as long as they are educated and they are oriented about your classroom policy. So the rule of thumb is number one is you should have a classroom policy. There should be an institutional policy in all of this. Teachers should be aware on this kind of censorship, on this kind of policies. There is a so-called internet policy. There is a so-called netiquette. All of this should be part in the certifications. Ika nga that we need to learn and we need to get. I would suggest that our viewers will look at we look at internet safety. We look at ethical guidelines and some other guidelines that will highlight or emphasis on this kind of issues in the technology mediated teaching and learning.
All right. So I think, the policies or the what we call the social ethical guidelines must be on the table before implementing something, especially that we are into the technology mediated learning. All right. So at this time, before going into our open forum, I would like to give anniversary t-shirt to our very active viewers, to Miss Haley and Mr. Wayne. I will be giving you our TESOL Coach Master Incorporated anniversary T-shirt, and that please give us your address, complete address, and your phone number, so we can ship your T-shirt for free. All right. Again, for those who would like to avail our anniversary T-shirt and other products, please visit our website at www.tesolcoachmaster.com and go straight to shop, and then you can choose from any of our TCM merch. All right. So again, you can choose either any of the designs, like I'm here to educate or teaching from your heart and whatever. So Miss Haley and Mr. Wayne, please comment or send us a private message in our Facebook fan page for the details. All right. Even if you are in Bangkok, even if you are in Japan or anywhere in the world, we will be shipping this TCMI anniversary T-shirt for free. Okay, so we appreciate your very active participation in our webinar. All right, so I guess we are now ready for our open forum. Doc Genove.
Hi.
All right. Taking into consideration different presentations but are connected with each other, from Dr. Hinove's presentation, I hope our viewers right now are able to identify themselves according to the areas where probably they have, this open area, the blind area, the hidden area, and then unknown area according to the Johari window. And for the presentation of Dr. Dave, I know our educators right now are, they are enjoying identifying themselves as to whether they are digital natives, digital immigrants, or digital fugitives. And if they're a fan of watching movies like 50 Shades of Grey, whether they are submissive or dominant. All right. So the open forum is now ready. The speakers are now ready. Wow. I've learned a lot for tonight's episode. And again, to our viewers, thank you so much for making TESOL Coach Master the people's choice for this year's Go Abroad Innovation Award. All right. So can we have one question or whatever comments or what so our speakers can share? Okay, here we are from Tess de la Cruz Versosa. Some of the teachers are not really technology inclined. Do you think that would not make us a lesser effective teacher compared to those that are really good in technology? Can we have from Dr. Cecile first?
Yes. Miss Tess, the fact that you are in the teaching profession really would make you a hero. In fact, a live hero, if I may call you as such. Please do not be intimidated with technology. Dr. Dave's presentation was really comprehensive. But Miss Tess, those are tools, as mentioned by Dr. Dave. What is important is the content and at the same time also the pedagogy that you are also using. You are a teacher, you're a professional teacher, your heart is into teaching. The tools are there to help you. It will make your life easier, but as a teacher, you have your own unique brand of reaching out to your learners. So go for it. Teach until what is that? What does the teacher say? Teach your heart out. I like that.
Yes. I'll
Yeah.
give
So
one. I'll give one T-shirt for the both of you. One for Dr. Cecile and one for Dr.
yeah.
Dave, and that will be delivered in your respective offices. That's
Yeah,
Teach
I
Your
like that.
Heart
I like the teach your
Out.
heart out. I like that. Salamat.
All right. Okay. What about for Dr. Dave?
Um, well, it's totally not. No, it will not make you less effective. As I've mentioned, technology is only a tool. It is a tool that can make us more effective and could enhance our teaching and learning. As I also mentioned that the use of technology in teaching and learning is very diverse. You may want to focus not necessarily into the delivery, but perhaps focus into the research area, focus into the social skills, focus into how you manage things, the use of technology. The actual use is only one of the many components. And you can also consider that there is a so-called support mechanism or the support structural method in teaching and learning, because I know also some friends, some researchers that they are very good into talking the technology, but when they do the hands-on, they cannot because th- th- they do some support mechanism. Say, for example, um, my friend provided the content, and then they have a staff that can do all the manipulation of this content. What is important actually is maybe if you have the content, if you have the strategy, you just have to make sure that you are aware of how this content could be delivered, and not necessarily you will be the one to do the translation or to do the transition, but at least ikaw mismo, you should be able to understand that your content is deliverable in this kind of new normal of teaching and learning.
All right. So the key words there are technology is considered to be a tool, and one of the most important things is the content as well as the pedagogy. All right. Now at this time, I would like to remind our participants to please go to the link that is being pinned in our TESOL Coach Master's comment, and then please fill out the information, the link for complete information for you to get your digital copy of the certificate. And at this time, since last episode, we offered TCMI scholars for 2020 scholars. So at this time, please type yes for TCMI scholar, and you can get 2,500 course only. Okay, so instead of paying 10,000 as our TESOL 150-hour course certificate, you can avail that 7,500 discount and pay only 2,500. So you can be considered as our TCM scholars. Again, yes for TCMI scholars. So we will be getting only top 10 for the TCMI scholars. Okay, so let's have another question or comments from the viewers. We've got a lot of viewers at this time. Okay, again from Mr. Ruel. Since we are in the new normal or the distant learning using the different platforms as the medium of holding classes, how can we make sure that our educators are equipped with knowledge in terms of the technologies that will be used? Especially in the Philippines, most of our teachers are used to the traditional type of teaching. Is DepEd or CHED putting this into consideration? Okay, so anyone can answer?
Um,
Sir
yeah.
Dave first.
The two giant organizations actually, in fairness, they are preparing. They are preparing a lot in terms of skills, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of training. In short, like for one, I can talk about in the higher education institution. The commission is actually accepting projects to help our colleagues, not necessarily teacher, but the institutions in general. Say, for example, I submitted to the Commission Higher Education a project that will help our teachers in the academe to learn about flexible learning. And this is actually in preparation for the new normal. This webinar is a very good avenue for all of us actually, because this will also bring the message of preparation of what are the things that need to be prepared, what are the skills that are necessary for us again to be more relevant in the coming school year. We do not know when the old normal will go back, but at least we should be aware. So to respond to that question, there are trainings, there are ongoing preparations. I know for sure, not necessarily on the digital component, because I know some colleagues and friends that they are focusing in the production of these print modules in preparation for the cohort of learners that or who have no internet connection.
All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Dave. Can we have Dr. Cecile?
Yes. Roel, I believe, must come from a university, private school. I think he mentioned Foundation University in Dumaguete City, Philippines. Am I right? Yes. Even among private schools, Roel, and I think even Dr. Dave would agree with me, many of our private schools are doing their best, really. Their limitations perhaps may be in the form of technology, or perhaps the gadgets or the tools themselves. But as far as they are concerned, they go all out in their support of empowering their teachers, and also making sure that everyone in their school or university is ready in the coming school year. And of course, yes, the Commission on Higher Education, as mentioned by Dr. Dave, and the Department of Education, I can just take my hat off to both of these organizations that are really on their toes in ensuring that all teachers and including parents as well are equipped, maybe not totally, but it's going to be something that will have to be learned by all of us as we go along. So it's a learning process all throughout.
All right. So yeah, I understand that everyone is preparing, okay, for the incoming new normal, as classes will start probably very soon, especially there in the Philippines. Here in Vietnam, we already have
Mhm.
started our classes last May, and we are
Mm.
actually back to normal. So the school year will end. I think it ended already, and that by next week they will be having their summer break.
Mm.
So all of those big organizations, giant organizations, are actually preparing, okay, not only for the teachers but for the students and parents as well. Now we will be entertaining one more questions. And again, I just would like to remind everyone that on July 10 we will be having our TCMI e-meet. So that is, e-meet up, because we cannot have our completion ceremony or our graduation on site. So we will be having our party online, and let's go virtual and have our party, our virtual party on July 10th. And Dr. Cecile and Dr. Dave, you both are invited for our virtual meetup on July 10th. All right. And for those who have commented yes for TCMI Scholar, instead of choosing only for the first 10, you all will be considered our TCMI Scholar. So we will be sending you your code, your scholarship coupon code for you to avail the 2,500 tuition fee. All right. One last question or comment. Okay. Among the different pedagogy and tools, which do you think is most effective when teaching skills or when engaging students in laboratory activities online? Probably Miss Monina is a science teacher or,
Mhm.
or what like that. Okay, so Dr.
Maybe
Hinove, Dr.
maybe
Dave.
Dr. Dave should answer it first,
Okay.
All
because it
right.
Okay.
pertains to
Thank you for the
pedagogy.
question, Miss Munena. That's expected for a science teacher because especially if you are teaching for how many years in a face-to-face, or if your subject or if your content is a performance-based type of subject where you need really to do face to face. Now, my answer is it really depends. It depends on your learning outcomes. If you will still use your learning outcomes that is being implemented during your face to face, that is a problem because I'd mentioned this that in a residential classes, there are Bloom's taxonomy, there are action verbs that may not or impossible to be delivered online or in a technology. That is why there is a so-called curricular modifications in this time. Now, there are many suggested tools that you can use, such as simulation software. There are virtual classrooms that you can use. Again, it really depends on your learning outcomes, and it also depends what are the available resources that your institution can access to. I cannot tell you that you have to purchase this kind of robotics because it may not be necessarily accessible in your institution, because other institutions, they have a virtual robot, they have a virtual AI, and all of the stuff that can do their sciences laboratory. So I think the best solution, the best way to move is to go back to your learning outcomes and look at your learning outcomes, revise your learning outcomes. That is deliverable and that can be achieved in this flexible learning type of delivery.
Yes.
All right. What about for you, Dr. Hinove?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Monina. I can also share when we say laboratory in the College of Mass Communication of Silliman University in Dumaguete City, Philippines, of which Sir Nico, of course, is an illustrious alumnus. In the College of Mass Com, yes, indeed, we have laboratories, Miss Monina, but our concept of laboratory is legwork, doing legwork, assigning students to cover certain events or assigning them to write about something which would of course require face-to-face engagement, no? But in yesterday's, Dr. Dave mentioned him moderating a webinar yesterday. I actually asked this of the resource person, Dr. Dave, and she gave a very convincing answer. She said, how can one, my question was, how can one teach news writing to students when I could not even meet them? Or how can I send them outside or to do legwork or to cover certain events when they cannot even come over to the place of learning, which is Dumaguete City? And Miss Dr. Serrano, the yes, Dr. Serrano, the resource person yesterday said that there are many meetings conducted by, for example, local government units that are zoomed or they conduct Zoom meetings. We or the teacher perhaps in her class can request to be part of the Zoom meeting, and that is where the students can actually do their coverage. Of course, definitely not actual, not face to face, but they are able to get a simulation of how it is to cover a particular event. And that's really very good.
All right. Wow. Okay. I can still remember that, covering news bits like that. And it really
Yes.
feels face to face, coverage. But then anyway, wow. I think we are almost done. So can we have last message from Dr. Maria Cecilia Genove?
Yes, certainly. This should not be the last message, Sir Nico. Perhaps some thoughts that I can share with our viewers now. I'd like to say that we are all on the right track. I am proud to say that I am a digital immigrant, but I am also proud to say that I have been in an era, I'm calling it as an era, but I have also been in a generation where technology was not exactly in an improved state. But I think this is the time when we simply just have to say, this is it. This is the road that we are all taking. But as teachers or in any profession that you may be in, the new normal is now the so-called information superhighway, the so-called 4.0 or information 4.0, or sometimes they now call it 5.0 or even 6.0. This is what we should engage in henceforth. And it may even stretch until the next 5, 2, 3, 5, or even more years. But to say that technology is a tool, to say that technology would make our lives easier is something that we should also look forward to. Thus, as mentioned as well, we have to combine technology, the pedagogy, as well as the content. So if you are comfortable with formulating the content for your subject matter or for your subject area, then work on it. If you think you're a very good teacher in science, then build on it. Be the best teacher of whatever subject area you are in, and let technology as well as pedagogy as well as other tools help make your teaching be delivered in a very effective manner. So with that, I'd like to wish Godspeed to all our colleagues in the profession in whatever line of endeavor you are in. Let's embrace technology and let's simply just make a way that we can be better individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. Can we have Dr. Dave Marshall?
In this time of the new normal in teaching and learning, we should not forget our content, and we should not forget our teaching skill, because I'm always telling this: technology is only a support teaching tool that can make us more effective. In this time of new normal, um, there is no really choice than to embrace technology. It may not necessarily be equally on equal footing, like the kind of technology I know in teaching and learning and your kind of technology that you know in teaching and learning. But what is important is our openness, and our openness to learn, and willing, no, our willingness to learn this kind of technology mediated teaching and learning. They said that technology will replace teachers because of the robots, because of the artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. But I feel that technology will not replace teachers, but teachers who are not willing and will not embrace technology may be replaced by those digital natives. So thank you very much.
From TESOL Coach Master Incorporated Board of Directors and from our viewers, we would like to say thank you so much to Dr. Maria Cecil Genove and Dr. Dave Marcial for this very productive and comprehensive webinar. And I hope you will be with us soon in our next webinars. And for those, again, for those who our viewers, we would like to remind you to please do not forget to fill out the link that is being pinned under the comments section, and please fill out all of the information for you to get your digital certificate in a day or 2 days, and that will be sent to your respective emails. And for the information of everybody, our content writers are taking down notes of your questions. And for those questions whom we were not able to answer, that will be answered through our TESOL Coach Masters journals. So we will be sending you our journals soon. Now, again, it's a very productive third episode of ELT Talks, New Hype, New Normal. I wish you all good night, and please bear with us for our TESOL Coach Master Incorporated series of activities, and that will start on July 9, July 10, and July 11. On July 9 will be our Thanksgiving Mass, groundbreaking ceremony, and of course, the blessing of our TCM Talks writing and tutorial online. So we already have a lot of online students, and that they will be learning online through our Filipino English teachers. So we will be giving a lot of job opportunities to our Filipino teachers, especially in this time of pandemic. All right. Now, and on July 10 will be TCMI meet up. So those graduates of TESOL Coach Master, and for those who are still ongoing, finishing their modules, their tasks, you can also join us during our TCMI meetup. And on July 11 will be our ELT Talks Conference Grand Virtual Summit. So for those who have not registered yet, because this is exclusive, you need to register, and you can interact with our speakers online. All right, so again, thank you so much, and God bless us. Hope we can overcome all of this all of these things that are happening with us right now. Of course, with him, everything is possible. God bless us all. Goodbye, Sir King. Goodbye, Sir Dr. Hinave. And thank you to our TESOL Board of Directors, Mr. Mark, Mr. Jerry, and Miss I. Thank you so much.
kababayan. Ang hirap sa ibang bayan, kung tayo'y magtulungan ay maiibsan. Siniko, ulirang guro, Pilipino, sa ibang bayan, isang sandigan. Kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, naway sa iyong pagtulong, patuloy kang lumigaya. Kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, sadyang may taong pinagpala, matulungin sa kapwa. Kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, ang kasipagan mo'y karangalan, isa kang dalubhasa. Kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, siniko, ulirang guro, Pilipino, sa ibang bayan, isang sandigan. Ang kasipagan mo'y karangalan, isa kang dalubhasa. Kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, kaibigan, kapatid, kababayan, kaibigan ko, kapatid, kababayan, kaibigan, kapatid, kababayan.